Hello, and thanks for joining us for the 7th episode of Throwing Your Parents Under the Bus podcast. In recent podcasts, we have talked about the benefits and dangers of self-driving cars, but today we're going to discuss the answers one student learned from a local dealership. Now, I'm Jane Johnson, and with me today is veteran crash investigator and driver safety expert Mike Peel. How are you doing, Mike?
I am doing awesome and glad to see everybody, or glad to hear that you're with us and learning something about buying a car today.
Super. And of course, we also have social media expert and keeper of our enrichment observations, Natasha. What's the news with you?
Oh, doing good. Just, trying to survive summer with all the kids home.
Well, many of us can understand that. All
Kiddo
right.
control.
That's right. That's right.
Crash proof your kiddo, see?
Mhm.
For summer.
Yes. Even if they're crashing into a pool or crashing into the doors or whatever, or the snack cabinet. Anyway.
Oh, yes.
Well, for those of you listening for the first time, we are the Drive Safe, Ride Safe team, and we have offered dozens of real-life enrichment activities to thousands of students who are assigned to complete these tasks with their parents and then give us their observations. And we use these observations to help us with material for our podcast. So with that said, let's go right to Natasha to tell us about our first observation.
Okay. Our first observation comes from Mariana in Rochester. Her assignment was to go to a local car dealership and ask questions about the reliability and the safety of cars. Here's the observation she sent us. I chose to go to a random auto dealership in my hometown to look at cars and ask some questions. When I asked the dealer which cars were the most reliable, he said, all cars are reliable or they wouldn't be on the road. Mike, what do you think about that?
Wow. If this dealership or a salesperson could back that up, because I would love to go out there and just look at all the cars on the lot and say, why don't you just push this one up? And what do you mean this one is reliable? So people, listen, cars have a 2.5-star rating up to a 5-star rating as far as crash rates go. All right. You do not ever, ever, ever want to buy something that is a 4-star or less. Don't do it. I mean, some have 5-star ratings. That's the best in head-on collisions, but they might have a 3-star in a T-bone. You don't know what crash you're ever going to be in. That would be awesome if we could foresee that. And yeah, it's always a bad statement. And don't you wish the people that died in car crashes, if they could come back, I guarantee you they would look at, if this car crashes this way, I want to make sure I'm going to be safe. But we all think we're never going to be in a crash. We're never going to be faced with that. So all cars are not reliable. And it is your duty as a driver to protect at least the people in your car, that if you are going to let me ride in your car, at least be the driver that did homework to protect your people in your car, your family in your car. You can go to a website called the National Institute for Highway Safety, plug in your make, model of your car. It'll tell you all the stars, all the bads, all the goods. Then we don't have to rely on that salesperson who tells you stuff that might get you killed. How's that? Because, when you walk in there, we trust them. And when they tell me a car is a good crash car, and then I go look at it on a website, you know what? That's a dealership I'm not going back to. So I think that was a bad statement from that salesperson.
Mm-hmm. That's a great observation, Mike, or a tip as far as checking things out for yourself.
Yes. Another question Mariana asked was, what are the main safety features of a car? The dealer replied, blind spot monitors, backup cameras, and 4-wheel drive. Do you agree?
No. Okay. So, and we just did a self-drive car podcast, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, a couple months ago, whatever. You can find that out. But you know what? As we transition from older cars to newer cars that have all these blind spot cameras, lights that go on in the mirror. You know, we are creating lazy drivers. People, when this technology goes bad, your life is at stake. And I'm just here to tell you, you know what? A blind spot camera that makes a light go on or beeps, is it good? Yes. But what happens when you have to drive a friend's car and that thing's not there, but you're so used to it, you're so relaxed with it, you put your blinker on and you don't see that light go on, and all of a sudden now you just ran over the motorcycle who shouldn't have been in your blind spot, but who was in your blind spot. Or you just turned into the front of a semi who was in that blind spot, who shouldn't have been in that blind spot, and you turned into it anyway, who's going to spin you around, roll you, and then they're going to come over the top of you. So you know what? Don't get used to this stuff. Are they great? Yes, when they all work, when everything works good. The final thing we do is get back to the basics. When we change a lane, you look over your back tire. There's a blind spot window there for a reason. Find out who's there. Someone's out to get you, and that's where it's going to be. Find them. All right. So, you know, four-wheel drives are great in the wintertime. What happens if I'm down in Florida? You know what? Four-wheel drives, if it's a monsoon rainfall, yeah, that'd be good. But you know, front-wheel drives are probably the most common thing, and that's probably one of the safest things. But now, do you know how to spin out with that? So, see, we just keep asking questions that everybody gets so sucked into technology that even though the technology is there, we still have to implement it and do what it takes to make that stuff work. So, you know, do your homework.
And practice. Know your
Yes.
car, I guess. Know the car you're driving.
Mhm. A final question Mariana asked was, what do I need to know if I want to buy a used car? The dealer's answer was to look up the car's history and get it checked by an independent mechanic.
And the best tip that dealer could, or that salesperson could have said, and what they actually should have done was taken our student Mariana over to a computer and actually showed her how to do this, you know, because that goes forever. You know, if this person would have answered every question the way we drivers ed people want it to be answered, I mean, you have a customer for life. Think about it. If I own that dealership and my salesperson sat this student down, thinking them as a lifetime buyer here. How many cars do we buy? You know, I'm in my 60s. How many cars have I bought in my life? And you know what? When you go back to good, honest, reliable people, you are afraid to leave that person, right? You know, because especially in the world today, it's such an untrusting world. So anyway, good observation by the salesperson to say, get it checked out. So Carfax.com on a used car is a must. It's like 85 bucks, 90 bucks. It will tell you every crash history of that car as long as an insurance company paid money out in a crash. But we have a lot of really good um, crooks out there, we'll call it, that can take cars with cash money and fix them, and you don't even know it. So that salesperson said, look up the car's history. Love that part. Great part. Everybody needs to do that. If you don't buy it from grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, and you still want to do that National Institute for Highway Safety crash check, you want to do that. But if you didn't buy it from somebody that had it brand new, then you want to stay away from it if you didn't know it, unless you do a Carfax. Then to go to that local mechanic that you trust and have that car, tell the dealership, I'm going to buy this based on the inspection from my mechanic. All right. So I need the car for an hour. My mechanic's going to put it up in the air, and that once that mechanic gets underneath that car, they will be able to see new parts, worn out parts, parts that have been welded where they shouldn't have been welded. They will be able to put the car down, and everybody should do this check anyway. With all the floods and the hurricanes and monsoon rains and rivers overflowing, all the cars we see going down rivers, on the news, you buy a used car, you go into that trunk, open it up, pull the carpet back. If you see any rust underneath that carpet, that car's been wet at that point. And that is when you run. You never buy a car that has been in a flood, because all the electronics in a car today, when you buy a new car today, do you know that the dealership actually offers insurance just for the computers in the car? It's amazing. There's just some of these cars have 5, 6, 7 computers in them. So, yeah, do your homework on it, because it's going to get costly if you don't. And the cost could be your life instead of the financial part. So,
That's great, Mike. Yes, good information. I will have to say, looking back on like one of my first cars, I bought for $100, and it had 2 huge speakers in the back. It was a Bonneville. And exactly, I didn't even want that, but they would happen to come with the car. But I literally, every time I filled it with gas, I had to put oil in it too. And then somewhere along the line, something would happen and I'd have to put a pencil in like the throttle or something under the hood to open it up again. And I just drove it. And I believe that wasn't the best thing to do.
I can't even imagine, for you people that don't know Jane, she's not 6 foot tall. Okay.
I'm not, and that is a big car.
And
Yes,
we're talking about a Pontiac Bonneville here, which is a monster car. We call them boats.
yes,
All
it was a
right.
boat.
Yes. So, yeah,
Yeah,
that's the first time she's actually ever told me that story.
yeah.
It's good.
Well, anyway, yes, that's just one of the many fun cars I probably got. What about you, Natasha?
Yeah, well, I know as a teenager, you never think to look under a rug or anything to look for damage. You're just thinking of freedom. So one of my first cars was, I paid $500 for it, and it was a Dodge Neon. What do you think of that
Wow. Okay, so I mean, my heart just stops when I hear that,
It's an
because
opposite of my boat.
yes, yes.
one?
And so, earlier we talked about, do your homework and go to the website for the National Institute for Highway Safety. You need a 2.5-star rated car to get to sell a car in the US. And then the max is a 5-star. 5-star is awesome. You still have to crash it the way it's been tested for that to all work. But if you have a Dodge Neon, you run out and donate that car to get melted down. It is my number one pet peeve in the 46 years I've done driver's ed, that car is the worst death trap you can be in. It's a motorcycle that's got paper around you. Let's put it that way. It's a wash machine on wheels. Take your hand and hit your driver's door panel like that, and then go to your wash machine and hit that, and feel the echo. Feel there's nothing there. And guess what? When you crash, you won't be there either. Okay, you will be eliminated in that car. It's got a horrible front end crash rate. It actually, in a 15-mile-an-hour head-on collision, 15 to 18, it actually takes the left front tire and puts it in the back seat.
Wow.
That has to come through you. And Natasha, even at $500, if you were to see that video and saw what you, the driver, would go through, would you still spend $500? Could they give it to you? So
No.
do your homework, guys. I'm telling you, that car gets T-boned, and it's not just that. All manufacturers have the cheap car because people want cheap. They don't want safety. You're smarter. You're better than them because we've taught you. I like that. All right. We make smarter, safer drivers.
I guess with that said, we can end our program, and we thank everyone, of course, for joining us because we really appreciate it. And if you have thoughts or stories, we would love to have you send them to us at drivesaferidesafe@gmail.com. If you're interested in watching other podcasts or sharing them, we love that. We are on www.buzzsprout.com, and it's /2361962, or you can go to our website where we have our podcast there, drivesaferidesafe.com, and then you just click on the podcast link. Again, we also have a video if you want to see us on youtube.com/drivesaferidesafe1, which is the number, not the name. Of course, we'll put the links below too to make it easier for you. Until next time, remember to
Drive safe and ride safe.
Do it again. We missed it.
Okay, well, all right, you two are gonna practice, and so just together call each other. Say on 3. I suppose I could say on 3 and help you. I don't know.
5, 4, 3.
Nothing.
Drive safe and ride safe.
All right, this is episode 7. We have no hope for those two.
Mm-mm.
You should always hope for people, but anyway. This is episode 7 of Throwing Your Parents Under the Bus podcast, and we thank you for joining us. You have a great day. Bye-bye.